Yes, welcome back. I should stop for today because it's too hot to do anything and makes me tired. It's 30 degrees. I need a bit to drink, but I don't like to do this my whole day tomorrow. I like to continue with my fighter jets. But I never get finished. With anything. I like to read because I need to do like this. My computer crashing and it's super hot every day. And I have pain in my back. And I'm thirsty always. And when I get back to my living room, maybe my computer have crashed. No, when we get back to living room, I have to spend 5 minutes because maybe my computer have crashed already. But let's do one more. I'm using this old small DJI pockets. Because the other one takes 24 hours to charging. This one needs to charging 24 hours. Yes, I need a minute to do myself ready, but I should stop for today. I'm not in mood to do more today because it's so hot always. Yes, I need to write this down, I forgot that. I have to write it down. Is the Catalina. But I think I need to stop after this because I'm not feeling well because it's so hot. Now it's evening. It's 6 p.m. evening.
Consolidated PBY Catalina. PBY Catalina A restored A-10 Catalina in U.S. Army Air Corps Colors Roll Right-Time Patrol Bomber Search and Rescue Seaplane National Origin United States Manufacturer Consolidated Aircraft built by Boeing Canada. PB-2B, Canadian Vickers. PBV, Naval Aircraft Factory. PBN, Soviet Gidrosamolot Transport Mi Factory at Taganrog. GST, First Flight 21 March 1935 Introduction October 1936. United States Navy Retired January 1957. United States Navy Reserve, 1982. Brazilian Air Force. Primary users United States Navy United States. Army Air Forces Royal Air Force Royal Canadian Air Force produced 1936-1945 number build 3,308, 2,661 U.S built, 1, 620 Canadian built, 27 Soviet built, 2, variants Bird Innovator. The Consolidated Model 28, more commonly known as the PBY Catalina, U.S. Navy designation, is a fleeing boat and amphibious aircraft that was produced in the 1930s and 1940s. In Canadian service it was known as the Canso. It was one of the most wideliest seaplanes of World War II. Catalinas served with every branch of the United States Armed Forces and in air forces and navies of many other nations. The last military PBY served until the 1980s. As of 2021, 86 years after its first flight, the aircraft continues to fly as a water bomber, or ETMCA, in aerial firefighting operations in some parts of the world. No Catalinas remain in military service. Design and development. Background. The PBY was originally designed to be a patrol bomber, an aircraft with a long operational range intended to locate and attack enemy transport ships at sea in order to disrupt enemy supply lines. With a mind to a potential conflict in the Pacific Ocean, where air troops would require resupply over great distances, the U.S. Navy in the 1930s invested millions of dollars in developing long-range flying boats for this purpose. Flying boats had the advantage of not requiring runways, in effect having the entire ocean available. Initial development. As American dominance in the Pacific Ocean began toughest competition from Japan in the 1930s, the U.S. Navy contracted Consolidated, Martin and Douglas in October 1933 to build competing prototypes for a patrol flying boat. 3. Naval doctrine of the 1930s and 1940s used flying boats in a wide variety of roles that today are handled by multiple special-purpose aircraft. The U.S. Navy had adopted the Consolidated P2Y and Martin P3M models for this role in 1931. But both aircraft were underpowered and hampered by inadequate range and limited payloads. Consolidated and Douglas both delivered single prototypes of their new designs, the XP3Y1 and XP3D1 respectively. Consolidated's XP3Y1 was an evolution of the XPY1 design that had originally competed unsuccessfully for the P3M contract 2 years earlier and of the XP2Y design that the Navy had authorized for a limited production run. Although the Douglas aircraft was a good design, the Navy opted for Consolidated's because the projected cost was only $90,000 per aircraft. PBY waist gunner mounting port side gun blister, 1942, Consolidated's XP3Y1 design, company model 28, had a parasol wing with external bracing struts, mounted on a pylon over fuselage. Wingtip stabilizing floats were retractable in flight to form streamlined wingtips and had been licensed from the Saunders Roe Company. The two-step hull design was similar to that of the P2Y, but the Model 28 had a cantilever cruciform tail unit instead of a strut-braced twin tail. Cleaner aerodynamics gave the Model 28 better performance than earlier designs. Construction is all metal stressed skin, of aluminum sheet, except the ailerons and wing railing edge, which are fabric covered. 4. The prototype was powered by two 825 HP, 615 kilowatts, Pratt & Whitney R1830-54 twin Wasp radial engines mounted on Fewing's leading edge. Armament comprised 4.30 in, 7.6 mm. Browning and forward/M2 machine guns and up to 2,000 pound, 910 kilograms, of bombs. The XP3Y1 had its maiden flight on the 21st of March 1935, after which it was transferred to the U.S. Navy for service trials. The XP-3Y1 was a significant performance improvement over previous patrol flying boats. The Navy requested further development in order to bring the aircraft into the category of patrol bomber, and in October 1935, the prototype was returned to Consolidated for further work, including installation of 900 HP, 670 kilowatts, R1830-64 engines. For the redesignated XPBY-1, Consolidated introduced redesigned vertical tail surfaces, which resolved a problem with the tail becoming submerged on takeoff, which had made liftoff impossible under some conditions. The XPBY-1 had its maiden flight on the 19th of May 1936, during which a record non-stop distance flight of 3,443 mi, 2,992 mi, 5,541 kilometers, was achieved. The XPBY-1 was delivered to VP-11F in October 1936. The second squadron to be equipped was VP-12, which received the first of its aircraft in early 1937. The second production order was placed on 25 July 1936. Over the next 3 years, the design was gradually developed further and successive models introduced. The aircraft eventually bore the name Catalina after Santa Catalina Island, California. The name was coined in November 1941, as Great Britain ordered their first 30 aircraft. 6. PBN Nomad. The Naval Aircraft Factory made significant modifications to the PBY design, many of which would have significantly interrupted deliveries had they been incorporated on the Consolidated production lines. 7. The new aircraft, officially known as the PBN-1 Nomad, had several differences from the basic PBY. The most obvious upgrades were to the bow, which was sharpened and extended by 2 feet, and to the tail, which was enlarged and featured a new shape. Other improvements included larger fuel tanks, increasing range of 50%, and stronger wings permitting a 2,000-pound, 908 kilograms, increase in gross takeoff weight. An auxiliary power unit was installed, along with an improved electrical system, and the weapons were upgraded with continuous feed mechanisms. 7. 138 of the 156 PBN-1s produced served with the Soviet Navy, after the NAF transferred ownership via Project Zebra, 1944 to 1945. 8. The remaining 18 were assigned to training units at Nassau Whidbey Island and the Naval Air Facility in Newport, Rhode Island. 9. Later, improvements found in the PBN, such as the larger tail, were incorporated into the amphibious PBY-6. Naming. The designation PBY was determined in accordance with the U.S. Navy Aircraft Designation System of 1922, PB representing patrol bomber and Y being the code assigned to Consolidated Aircraft as its manufacturer. Catalinas built by other manufacturers for the U.S. Navy were designated according to different manufacturer codes. Thus Canadian Vickers-built examples were designated PBV, Boeing Canada examples PB2B, there already being a Boeing PBB, and Naval Aircraft Factory examples were designated PBN. In accordance with contemporary British naming practice of naming seaplanes after coastal port towns, Royal Canadian Air Force, ACAF, examples were named Canso, for the town of that name in Nova Scotia. The Royal Air Force used the name Catalina and the U.S. Navy adopted this name in 1942. 10. The United States Army Air Forces and later the United States Air Force used the designation OA-10. U.S. Navy Catalinas used in the Pacific against the Japanese for night operations were painted black overall. As a result, these aircraft were sometimes referred to locally as Black Cats. Operational history. A radar-equipped PBY-5 from VP-6, CG, over Greenland, in 1945 roles in World War II. The PBY was the most numerous aircraft of its kind, with around 3,300 aircraft built. During World War II, PBYs were used in anti-submarine warfare, patrol bombing, convoy escort, search and rescue missions, especially air-sea rescue, and cargo transport. The type operated in nearly all operational theaters of World War II. The Catalina served with distinction and played a prominent and invaluable role in the war against Japan. These patrol planes shared with land-based patrol bombers the combat roles, while the very long-range Consolidated Pound-30 and the Consolidated Corona were pressed into service to increase the all-important logistic strategic airlift capability in the vast Pacific theater. The pairings allowed the Catalina to take on the role of eyes of the fleets at longer ranges than the